Today I am with Mr. Amar Singh Rai, TMC candidate for Darjeeling Lok Sabha constituency, and is kind enough to give us some time out of his hectic schedule, and I'm gonna straight away, without wasting much of his time, straight away I'm asking few questions which is relevant for the upcoming Lok Sabha elections. Good evening, Mr. Rai. Mr. Rai, without wasting much of your time, I'll just take straight away to the questions. My first question would be, why TMC ticket?
Well, I think, this is a question that is in the mind of everyone in the hills. No one ever thought that the Gorkha Janmukti Morcha would, have some sort of an alliance or understanding with the TMC, resulting in my contesting this election on a TMC ticket. Well, if you look at the background to this, I think it was on the 22nd of January when we had the review meeting with the Honorable CM in Richmond Hill, Darjeeling, where after the meeting, we were just casually talking to her, and she broached the subject about the elections. And a very simple question to our chairman, Mr. Binay Tamang, was, Binay, have you all thought about this year's parliamentary election? Now, of course, Mr. Tamang was not prepared in that way. So he did say, Didi, we've not given any thought to the elections. Then she said one thing, which we thought was very relevant. And I think it was, her goodness that she came with this idea where she said, for this election, we want you to choose a local candidate. You give me 3 names, but they'll have to fight the election. You'll have to fight the election on the TMC symbol. What would be the consequences of us contesting an election on a TMC symbol? We thought about it, we discussed its pros and cons. Ultimately, the conclusion we came to was there are technical difficulties. Firstly, I would say that Gorkha Janmukti Morcha is a recognized party but not a registered party. So Gorkha Janmukti Morcha on its own does not have a symbol of its, symbol. Like, when we fight, last time when we fought the Lok Sabha election, we did not have our own symbol. We fought on the BJP symbol, the lotus symbol. When I fought for my MLA, we didn't have a symbol of our own. The election commission awarded us a symbol, gave us a choice. That's why I had these 2 candidates. So we thought that was one technical hurdle. The second hurdle, I think, which is more important, because election is nothing but numerical game. One has to see number, number-wise. So we looked at the composition of the 4 Darjeeling parliamentary constituencies. There are 7 assembly segments. Darjeeling, there are 3. In the plains, there are 4. Numerically, the 3 Darjeeling legislative constituency has, the voters would be about just about 6 lakhs, whereas in the 4 constituencies, the plains, there would be 11 lakhs. So we have to take. So if we have an independent symbol, we can explain to our people. We've done it in the past, so not a problem. But explaining to the 11 lakh voters in the 4 parliamentary constituencies, I think that was an impossible task for us. So we said, okay, we'll go for this. So that is why logistically, technically, we agreed to this arrangement.
Okay.
Now, people have called you traitor for accepting you a TMC ticket. I would like to know your view on this.
No, I think that is very. It's a very what to say, immature thing to say, because the people who are calling me a traitor, or people who are telling me or saying that I'm an anti-Gorkha, I think they forget the fact that they also voted for the TMC and for the TMC symbol in the last assembly election and in the last municipal election also. So, I don't give much credence to this sort of criticism because I would say I'm a true Gorkha, and my simple philosophy in life, my principle in life is, no matter what people say, if I can, by contesting on a TMC symbol, if I can bring about more benefits to our people, I think that is what I'll be happy about. I'm not worried about what symbol I contest in. I'm thinking about the greater good of our people. If they prosper, if they get employment, if there's development, if there's peace, I think that is what we want, and that is what the people want. So I'm fighting on those issues on the TMC ticket, on the TMC symbol. So I don't think people would consider me a traitor for that. If I'm a traitor, well, I'm willing to take it, because as I said, my principle in life is to promote the greatest good of the greatest number. Let's put it that way.
Sir, Neeraj Jimba has used the low-grade language against you, and a very low-grade language against you. And what would be your opinion on that and take on that?
No, you see, I never react to this. I don't even listen to his interviews. I don't listen to his speeches. I don't think I can stoop so low as Neeraj Jimba does. In saying things about me. Like, I know what I heard. I haven't listened to him. Like he said things like, I've never done anything when I was a chairman. I did nothing when I was the MLA. He said even my own family members won't support me, vote for me. He said a lot of things I heard. I've not listened to him. But then when we look at the type of politics, not only in Darjeeling but throughout India, I am a believer of cultured politics. I don't believe in unnecessarily, downgrading someone by calling them names without proof. If you have proof, you're right. But without positive proof, concrete proof, saying things about someone else, well, that doesn't register in me, and I don't think I'm capable of reacting to that. As I said, I can't stoop. I'm not brought up that way. I think this also is a part of one's upbringing. I don't, to be very frank, I don't react to it. I don't give any credence to what Neeraj Jimba says.
Right, sir. And why do you want the people to vote for you?
No, because I think, the Honorable CM herself has been impressed with me as an MLA. She openly claims, she says that, I know she mentioned it in the core committee meeting of the TMC. Mr. Rai is one of the best MLAs, very good speaker, he's done very good work, positive work in the MLA, when you were the MLA. And then she praised me for, when she appointed me as the chairman of the 2 districts planning for comprehensive development. Out of the blue, she just picked me and made me the chairman. And then she gave me a time limit of 6 months to present my report. But I presented my report within 5 months. I worked, I slogged it, and I did a good job. She was very pleased with it, and she openly in a meeting, on the third public meeting, she praised me in front of everyone. Mr. Rai has done a wonderful. You see, I don't speak much. I'm dedicated to whatever responsibilities that are given to me, and no matter how highs and lows there are, I'll always make it a point to fulfill my responsibility. This is something I've learned since childhood. I think my mother taught me that. My principal, a saint, a lady, Mother Damien, taught me these ideas, these principles, and I still follow these principles. And I think as long as I'm sincere in my work, I think the people will always look up to me. And I'm not, openly boasting about it or, beating the drum and proclaiming it, but I can claim that I have done a lot of positives when I was the chairman of the municipality. I have done a lot of positives when I was the MLA representing the hills. I've done a lot when I was in college also, when I was a lecturer, professor. Wherever I've done, I've made some contribution to society. So I think this is why I want people to vote for me. Not because of politics, not because of Gorkha Jan Mukti Morcha, not because of TMC. I want them to vote for me for what I am. That is my appeal. Not for the sake of a party, because I believe that I can do something for the people. So I have that belief in me, I have that confidence in me. So I want, this is the main reason why I want people to vote for me.
Great. Now, sir, would like to know your opinion on Gorkha land.
No, Gorkha land, you see, my tryst with destiny with Gorkha land started in 1986. To be very frank, since 86, in the year 86, I had no concept of Gorkha land at all. I mean, there was no interest in me. But I think it was Mr. Subhash Singh who I think raised some hope that, yes, we Gorkhas need a land of our own, we need a separate state of our own. Then that's why during Mr. Subhash Singh's time also, I did make some contribution to Gorkha land, but not in the sphere of politics, but in the form of being a part of a study forum which we had formed to help or to advise Mr. Subhash Singh. And we were doing a lot of good work, like when the left front government produced a white paper against Gorkha land in 1986. We thoroughly studied that, we analyzed that, we answered that. I've written a lot of articles, like I remember one article I wrote in 86, which I find today is so relevant. That is, my very simple article was, how sincere is the center, I'm not asked to say, how sincere is the center towards the demand for Gorkha land. I wrote one in 86. Now, now when I look at everything, when I go back, when I retrospect, I see this, there is no sincerity at all. But then, as I said, my dream about a separate state started in 86. Then when Mr. Gissing signed the accord in 1988 and accepted the DJC, I gave up all. Then I was never involved, in the movement. Then again in 2007, when Mr. Bimal Gurung chased away Mr. Subhash Singh, he came to know that I had contributed a lot, towards, not politically, but in the form of my writings to the cause of Gorkhaland. So he called me one day and said, "Sir, why don't you again start your thing?" So I again started. I got good people to be a part of the study forum, and we started studying issues, analyzing and writing papers and all that. It was continuing. Then all of a sudden in 2011, I got more into it because, Mr. Bimal Guru, his style of function was such that, he gave us the hope that, Gorkhaland would be achieved immediately. So we went for it. I don't know, but then in 2013, as it is, 1986 agitation was bad. Thousands of people were killed. 2013, when again Mr. Bimal Gurung raised the issue of Gorkhaland, it was bad, but it became worse in 2017. And as an MLA, 2017, many of us felt that, the movement was not going in the proper direction. So that's what we felt. And from my side, if I could be of any help, I did try to advise Mr. Gurung that I don't think this is the right path. When he called that strike, I could see people really suffered because we also were all supporters of Gorkhaland. We also shouted slogans for Gorkhaland. We also went daily on rallies for Gorkhaland. But then it was not properly directed. I felt that there was no proper roadmap to Gorkhaland. And I could see this. I could see how people suffered. So what I felt that, I don't think, we're following the right path towards this goal. Then, because of the suffering, when the strike was called off, then, we got together and we thought that before we could achieve Gorkhaland, I think there are certain other things that would help later on. It will take time. I've always said that when the government gave us two autonomous bodies in the form of the Darjeeling Gorkha Hill Council and the GTA, we just couldn't run it. To be very frank, we just didn't know how to run it. And that was because we had not developed our infrastructure, we had not developed human resources. We were just running these two autonomous bodies haphazardly, without any rules of business, without any rules of procedure, So everything became a messy affair. So what we thought was, yes, in order to achieve Gorkhaland, there are other priorities that you need to get hold of. Other priorities like, firstly, there has to be peace, there has to be tranquility, there has to be harmony. If you're going in for a violent revolution, I don't think, you'd achieve anything positive. It doesn't achieve. I think that is a mistake we made. Without, peace, stability, development, I think these are some priorities that would later on help. The second thing that we realized was our own identity is not, safeguarded. We don't know identity. So you are asking for separate statehood, but you don't have an identity. You are asking for separate statehood, land, Gorkha land. But the question is, does the land that you have built your house on belong to you? Today, when you think of it, the BJP government is so adamant to apply the national register for citizenship in Bengal, the thing that they did. I think this is a great danger, and this has some links to, we'll always have some links to our demand, work-life. Because if they do that, I think 80% of the population in Darjeeling or in the hills will be displaced because they don't have their own land. We're talking of bhumi, we're talking of land, but we don't have documents to prove that this land is ours. Look at the tea gardens, look at the Singh plantation, look at the people, say, Darjeeling municipality. They're they're constructing their house, they've got their homes on leasehold lands. Leasehold land, the government can any day say you can go. So, if you're going to introduce or apply the national register for citizens in Darjeeling also, it will be applied, then we will be homeless. This is proved. So, I think these are things which require for us to settle certain basic issues first. Like, let us get our, Prajapatas, our documents. Let us have that in hand, saying that this land belongs to you. Let the tea garden workers have that document, that the land that they are living in for generations is theirs. It's not theirs. They can be thrown out any day. So I think more important than Gorkha land for the time being are these issues which, for me, has become more important.
And also, what is your way forward that you have planned for the hills?
Now, my plan for the hills is definitely, I've seen, we have prepared a document. It's not a charter of demand as such, but it is some sort of a manifesto for us. There are 8 points. Now, if you look at these 8-point manifesto, there are some that are state related, and there are some that are centrally related. But then I find that, for state related issues, I have to go to the state. See, that will be my line of thinking. I know, for instance, anything relating to education, the center, nothing to do it. So if you're going to elect a BJP MP can do nothing. We have to approach the state. We have to depend on the state. So I want to take up these issues and, not only raise issues that are centrally related in Parliament, but more important than that, raise issues or solve issues that are dealt by the state. I think there I will be more successful, and I think there my term as an MP will be more meaningful. That's what I feel.